أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما رب ارزقني علما اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وتوكل الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. There are two words in Quran. One word which is used very beautifully for help, and that's Nasr, Nasrullah, the help of Allah. And the other word is Ghayb, the unseen. And both these words are rooted in things beyond our mind. A reality, haq, which is not one we can comprehend. The Nasr of Allah that comes from Ghayb is the divine support. And it may not look like ration boxes. It may not look like big castles. It may not look like the things that we have imagined the help of Allah to look like. It may not have the perception that we want Allah's help to have, because it actually is much more pure and much more potent than our perception or expectation of it. Because when we ask as insan, we ask someone for help me, we are asking for a specific outcome. And we are asking for their help to activate the means also that will also help us reach the outcome. So we're asking for a two-way help from them. Help me through the means to be able to get there, two-way outcome. And so that's the way we are used to looking at the help, which is activated. But when you're asking for Nasrullah, the help of Allah, which will come from Ghayb, which is of Ghayb, which is primarily from Ghayb, we are asked to completely let go of two things. One, the means. You're asking for his help. How will you get that help? Release that. Where will you get to after you have received his help? Release that outcome. Feel into the purity and the potent it is, the last minute call that you make to someone when you are out of all options. And there is no call, that call does not exist in the human stratosphere. So therefore, it's the last call that you make to your Rabb, to your Khaliq, when you are completely out of all options, which is when you say Nasrullah. And to which Allah always replies, Nasrullah al-Ghaib. It is indeed near because you have called him. But in that moment, when we have asked for the Nasr of Allah, we are asked specifically to lay down the two things that we were using as our propellers forward in life through this situation of hardship. The first one, how will that help happen? Where will it come from? Release that, he says, one. Second, who or where will I be after his help has come to me? Will I still have what I have? Will I still be who I am? Will I still be where I am after I have asked for his help? Allah says also on that, release that. Release that. And that's why it's so scary to ask for Allah's help. That's why we use it, because if asking for Allah's help would feel like a blossoming garden within us, that would have been the first call we would make, right? Nasrullah would be the first call that we make, but we don't. We try with every faculty that we have, that we try. And at the very end, we make the last call. Why? Because Nasrullah feels like fear. Nasrullah feels like the unknown, because it is from the unknown. Nasrullah is always from Ghayb. It will never be from the reality that your eyes can see. It feels like a miracle. And some points it feels like a tragedy before it feels like a miracle, which is why there is so much fear around Nasrullah. It is a tragedy sometimes before it becomes a miracle. It is a miracle sometimes from the onset, but it is never one that you can anticipate. Nasrullah is always, always from the unseen, because its root that it's coming from, the repository of the treasure house of the magic treasure troves it's coming from, is from the unseen. And the way that unseen interacts with the seen part of our life, the way the unseen manifests itself for us, not to us, the way Nasrullah, the manifestation of the help of Allah from the unseen manifests itself to us, could look extremely disruptive in our life. It is nothing that you would imagine help to look or feel like, which is why mostly when we have been asking for something consistently, we are asking for an outcome. But in that dua, we're asking for Allah's help. And when something really unexpected happens that yanks us out of our comfort zone, we turn to Allah with shikwa. ये तो नहीं हमने मांगा था. आपने ये मैं आपसे ये मांग रही थी, आपने मेरे साथ ये कर दिया. Hey, you asked for my help. My help will come from the unseen. Now prepare yourself for receiving my help, because my God, brace, this is going to be a roller coaster ride. And at the end of this ride, Allah Ta'ala says, I promise you, the person that you will become, the place that you're going to go to, as Allah is my witness, and the people that you're going to be surrounded with is going to be so incredible. But forget everything that happens in between. Just enjoy the ride for now. Just enjoy the ride and trust me. It is this Nasrullah Ghayb, help of Allah from the Ghayb, that we are asked to lean into as our human selves, not just when we are in trouble, but at all times. And so it is that post that one reads, prepare for miracles at all times. Expect a miracle. Be practical. Expect a miracle. It always makes me chuckle. Be practical. Expect a miracle. Why? Who would say that? Who would write this post? A multidimensional being of light who knows 80% of their being is in Alam-e-Dar, dude, and another one is in Alam-e-Barzakh. So only a little bit of it is here. It's the most impractical position to be in. Most illogical position to be in. All of you are not even here in one place. So of course, that multidimensional being will write, be practical, expect a miracle. Because here's what we want us to visualize. And it's, again, when I say visualize, this is what I want us to remember. If the soul of us was, if the soul of us were a light form, mostly it feels like that light form is blobbing or floating gently in wide, wide, wide empty space. So it is a black, beautiful, empty space canvas. And there is a light form of us, whichever color it has, it's gently bobbing on the surface or in that space. That's our first interaction with our soul self. What we don't see, because they are very, very fine, like a spider web. What we don't see and what we don't feel when we first begin to get familiar with our soul selves is that soul light of you, that blob of you. Notice how from the right corner of that light blob, there is a spider web, very, very thin filaments of light, which are connecting you to the atmosphere that you're in, to the space, like a rope, but mostly like a pipe, but very thin veins, light veins. And then you notice that those light veins are not just connecting you from the right side of you to the fabric of space, but they also all around you along the bottom of you. So aise jaise you're all tethered. You're all tethered. And right now we can look at them as light filaments, but you're tethered from the right of you. You're tethered from the left of you. You're tethered from the left to right, and the bottom and the left of you. And now feel the tethering along the ribs of you, along the sides of you as you move up. All tethered. Aise jaise, what you did not notice is that you're actually inside a spider web. It's on top of you also, and all around. You're inside the spider web of these beautiful light filaments. And then you notice how this spider web is the most alive organism that you've ever noticed, because notice how there is this sparkling liquid light that's traveling through the spider web inside you from the space that you're tethered to. So it's not a tethering, it's a feeding. It's the divine umbilical cords, it's the divine support, it's the divine nutrition tubes. It's coming within you, because you have now brought your awareness to it. So they now must make themselves manifest even more strongly. They're flowing in you and they're flowing to you from the right of you and from all the arc of in front of you and from the left of you and from all the arc behind you and from top of you. And now, subhanallah, bring your awareness down towards the bottom where your feet are, and they're tethered deeply into the unknown, deeply down. Again, the veins are coming up, and notice how, now, notice how strongly held you feel in this moment. Notice how tautly taken care of you feel in this moment. Notice how well nourished you feel like in this moment. And your mouth may be parched because you may be fasting, or your body may be feeling tired, but oh my God, where is this light food, this light strength that's coming in, you're feeling somehow in the light body of you, in the energy body of you. And the tautness of this support, where you already feel this and you have no idea where the other end of this support is. Do you see? You do not see where the end of this nutrition is, where it's coming from. You do not see it, but you feel taught, you feel fed, and you don't need to see the bottom of the lake or the universe that you're in. You don't need to see the end of the right and the end of the left or the top of the top. You don't need to see the ends of where this origin of feeding tubes is coming from. You just feel supported because this is not your design. You have not created it. You are not visualizing it. This is not something you have conjured up. This is who you are, divinely supported with these beautiful light filament threads, tightly held, tightly, like your mother would hold your hand tightly, never for a second loosening her grip, tightly held, supported by the universe around you, on the right of you, behind you, to the left of you, in front of you, on top of you, and beneath you, tightly and tautly held. And this, where you don't need to see where this support is coming from, but you feel the tightness of it, is Ghayb. This is Nasrullah Ghayb. And Ghayb, in the transliterary definition of this word, Subhanallah, is the depth of a well. एक प्यासा जब कुएं पे जाता है, उसको अपनी प्यास से गर्ज होती है. उसको नहीं जरूरत नीचे देखना how deep that कुआं is. उस कुएं का, अगर उस कुएं के ऊपर रस्सी लगी हुई है, उसके ऊपर बास्केट है, वो उसके अंदर अपनी बास्केट डाल के उसको रोपन करके पानी पी सकता है. उस कुएं का पानी मीठा है. It is enough for that traveler. It is enough for that traveler. But that traveler knows where the kuan is. And the traveler knows that this the kuan has pani in it for him. That traveler is divinely guided. The traveler was not pushed into the desert without a Google map of the soul. In this case, it's a much more sophisticated map. It's a much more sophisticated map. Its coordinates are divine coordinates. Once we allow ourselves to feel the divinity of us through our flesh and bones. It's the same traveler who is in a desert. There are two travelers. One of the traveler is connected to his or her divine origin. The other traveler is deeply connected only to the flesh and bones of them. The one who's deeply connected to the flesh and bones of them immediately takes gauge of the resources the senses can see around them. And the resource in the senses will tell you there is desert, there is the sun, कंपस है, सूरज इतने बजे ऊपर आएगा, वहां पे दूर आपको शायद कहीं पे इफ यू वांट टू फॉलो योर ओन कंपस, अगर वहां पे जाएं तो ग्रीन कलर का वहां पे शायद ओएसिस है, वहां पे आपको पानी मिलेगा, आपके पास एक So you take stock of what you have, of what you can see. आपके पास ये जानवर हैं, आपके पास इतनी strength है, आप इतना travel कर सकते हो, इतनी आपके पास food provisions हैं. You take stock of what you can see, but then you cannot take stock of what will come, the things that you cannot control once you step into the desert. And that's when the traveler who is not connected to the divine self panic, because they may have excellent plans for all the resources that they have and the ones that they can see, but they cannot control the events that come on their way. And when those events happen, the state of dis-ease is such that the traveler is not ready to take care of even the resources that they have. उनसे हिसाब नहीं रखा जाता अपने खाने का, अपने पीने का, from an analogy of the traveler. And they begin to lose that until they begin to lose a lot more than just the provision and the resources that they had. And the other traveler, the one who is deeply connected to their divine origin, also uses the faculties. Absolutely, absolutely. But also keeps in account takes in account the fact that if he's traveled for 3 or 4 days, it may be 5 or 6 days, or he may never reach there. He's also taken into account the fact that if or when his compass, he doesn't have a backup compass for his compass. Also is taken into account the fact that if or when his compass fails, or their compass fails, or anything that is meant to show the guide, which is meant to show them through the desert, they lose them, or whatever happens, for whatever eventuality, there is still a deeper compass within themselves where, yes, there will be a moment of in-between. That sacred moment of in-between where you've lost everything and you don't know what the next step holds. That traveler already knows that those moments are not if, but when. Because that is the life of the desert. All desert travelers, all Bedouins know this. This is the life of the desert. It's never if, it's always when. And so what does that traveler, what do people who live in the desert do? They learn to read the wings of the flight of the birds. They learn to speak to the wind. And the wind speaks back to them. How can the wind speak to a traveler who is only operating from the senses? The wind cannot. The wind only speaks to the divine origin of us. How could Hazrat Suleiman speak to? How did he have the faculties from gifts from Allah Ta'ala to speak to the creations, to Jannat and to the ants and the wind and the horses? How could he speak? Because the language that he was speaking to them from was a divine language. A divine language is is what the entire creation is made from. The whole creation recognizes the language of divinity. It's only the insan which struggles to recognize that divinity. The wind knows it, the ants know it, the moon knows it, the tide know it, the tides know it. The sun and the moon know it. They know it. We don't. We have forgotten. We know it, but we have forgotten. And how do you begin? So we have a divine language that we are born with. We have a divine compass that we're born with. The origin of us is that light in that deep space, deeply held, filamented. It was the same light that we went into the practice of leaning into the mirror yesterday and seeing, bringing them up into this world. But the origin of that light is deeply protected, like an embryo is protected in the womb of their mother. Except that this embryo, this fetus, this child, this ruh will never exit the womb of their creator. They will never exit. To be born is not to exit the rahmah of Allah. Allah introduces himself as Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I am the one of Raham. You are in my womb. We do not exit his womb. We do not exit his womb. And it is that womb which is Ghaib. Allah Ta'ala speaks of it. In Quran, there are 2 ways. Ghaib is spoken of in 2 ways. One is Ghayb al-Mutlaq, which is absolute Ghayb. Absolute Ghayb refers to all knowledge that is unseen or concealed and is known only to Allah. And it is stated in Quran, this is Ayah 6, this is Surah 6, verse 59. And with him are the keys of the Ghayb, all that is hidden. None knows them but he. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a beautiful hadith, he said, the keys of the Ghayb, which are the keys of the Ghayb? There are 5 keys of the Ghayb, 5 fingers of our hand. Like, just look, I don't even know how Allah Ta'ala created us. I'm going to speak of course, the hadith, but Allah Ta'ala created us in his divine language. Who better to know the divine language than ones who are created in the divine language? We are the divine manuscript. We don't have to learn this language. It's the same manuscript the whole creation has been created from. We are the same divine manuscript. But the whole creation is aware of the divine manuscript, and the only ones who have forgotten. And so what are the keys of the Ghaib? What are the keys of the unseen? There are 5. Nobody knows them but Allah. And what are the keys? Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow except Allah. You see the boundary here? Nobody knows what is in the womb except Allah. Subhanallah. Nobody knows when it will rain except Allah. And the beauty of rain, again, it's the rain is always the one which revives dead earth, the one that revives barren earth, which is the realm of Ghaib when it comes to Iman as well. Nobody knows the state of the heart. Nobody knows the state of the heart but Allah. Do not judge another human being. You do not know. Nobody knows when it will rain except Allah. Oh, these are not, it is never only the rain. You see, when Allah speaks to us who are multidimensional beings, he speaks in the divine code. It is never, he's never just talking about the rain. And he's also never talking about the rain when he says, nobody knows when it will rain but Allah. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on yourself. Nobody knows when it will rain on your heart but Allah. Do not give up on yourself. And do not belittle yourself. Do not deem yourself unworthy. Do not grind yourself, not pissle yourself into ground chili. Nobody knows when it will rain. The 3rd key, nobody knows when it will rain but Allah. And there is only one who despairs of the rain of Allah, who despairs of the rahmah of Allah, which is Iblis, jiska core, iska root word hi kya hai? Wo jo mayus hua. As multidimensional beings who are, tuned into your embryo, your own ruh fetus, your own ruh light, fully, totally connected in the womb of Allah. हम मायूस होने वालों में से नहीं हैं. हम हो नहीं सकते. हमारा हक नहीं है वो. Because it's not our reality, not because it's bad or it's wrong and Madhiya bad girl if she's mayus and like this Alia good girl when she's not. No, it's nothing about, it's the reality, it's hak. हम उनके womb में हैं. हम कैसे मायूस हों? Like we are literally in his womb. We're literally supported and fed by divine nourishment. We literally, like, that's the feeding tube of our ruh. You know that sci-fi dystopian spaceship comes to mind where you Cairo freeze people and their bodies and they're just fed for a long time until they're like released after 2 million years when the atmosphere of the earth is conducive for their revival. Well, if nothing else, and where do you think these movies are? I'm like, seriously, of course, that's another discussion. But where do you feel the most fantastic ideas for movies come from? We are not the Khalik. We can only ever regurgitate and imitate what already is. It's a remembrance. You know where your souls are. You know that your souls are totally fed in the womb of Allah. So do not be afraid when you call out for Nasrullah. Because you know it's going to come from Ghayb because you're of Ghayb. It's not surprising when it comes from Ghayb because most of you are in Ghayb. So the 3rd key of Allah is nobody knows when it will rain except Allah. No, and the 4th key, no soul knows at what place he will die except Allah. Subhanallah. And a beautiful Subhanallah. Again, my teacher says, he said, जो आपकी कब्र की मिट्टी है, उसी मिट्टी से आपको फैशन किया जाता है. डू यू नो दैट? I don't know how even we will want to continue this session from this statement onwards. अब हम गैब की बात करें, हम डिवाइन सपोर्ट की बात करें. कहीं गुम ना जाए मेरी बच्ची, मेरे से दूर ना चली जाए मेरी बच्ची. उसी मिट्टी से जिससे उन्होंने ऐसने तकवीम मुझे बनाया है, वही मेरे कब्र की मिट्टी. In the moment that he created, it is inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. In the moment that I began to breathe, I also began to return back to him. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. मेरी कब्र की मिट्टी से मेरी रूह, मेरा जिस्म फैशन हुआ. And we know this, and we've witnessed it, as Allah is our witness. When it's time for someone to die, they will come back from Nordic lands and from basements, they will come back being pulled to a place where they must die. उनको अपनी मिट्टी की खुशबू आती. हाँ, as insan, because most of us are so afraid of dying, although in the moment that we were created, we were dead also. The same mitti of our creation is the mitti of our qabr. But most of us are so afraid of dying that we resist the skip in our step that is also possible when you know that you're about to die. That we resist smelling the beautiful meaty खुशबू of our मिट्टी, जो हमारी कब्र की मिट्टी है. हमें उस कब्र की देख के डर क्यों लगता है? खुशबू तो सूंघो उसकी, ये तुम्हारे जिस्म की खुशबू. We all have this unique, those pheromones that we talk, we have a unique smell that we exude. We do, all of us do. We have this unique sense of smell that we exude, not sense of this actual thing that we exude, these pheromones that we exude, which smell a certain way. कब्र की मिट्टी की खुशबू. Within the same life-giving element is death. And the fourth key, how else do we even begin to honor the fact that we are of the Ghayb when we've been created with such tremendous magic, mind-blowing magic? And that's the fourth key that Allah holds in his hand. Nobody knows when he's going to die. And of course, subhanallah, the one day that is Allah's day, which is nobody knows when the final hour will begin except Allah. Subhanallah, nobody knows except Allah. These 5 keys Allah has kept with himself, and they are called Al-Ghaib, al-Mutlaq. But there are some keys that Allah has given to us, some of us, and it's called Al-Ghaib al-Nisbi, Nisb, Nasab, किसी से राबता जोड़ना, किसी से निस्बत होना, किसी से निस्बत होना, like-mindedness होना, like-souledness होना, like-lightness होना. Isn't it so beautiful? So it's still the unseen, and which is what we are experiencing in this moment. It is still the unseen, al-ghaib, but in this case, it is al-ghaibul nisbi. It's a relative ghaib. It's proportionate to an individual soul or their situation. It is apparent to some, like in this moment, you can see the light of you in Allah's womb. It is apparent to some while hidden from others. And what a beautiful example that they've given. And they've said, an example to illustrate this notion is that of a class in which the students can see the lecturer, hear the content of the lecture and the conversation that takes place in the classroom, while those outside are unaware of the occurrences in the classroom. It's Hogwarts, guys. This is Hogwarts. People don't even know that this classroom exists. Dude, कहाँ से वो किताबें लिखी गई हैं, कहाँ से वो दीवार बनाई गई है जो कुछ लोग उसको क्रॉस कर सकते हैं, कुछ लोग नहीं क्रॉस कर सकते. वो कौन लोग हैं जो अपने अपने नफ्सों से लड़ रहे हैं उन अकेडमीज में, और कौन लोग हैं जो राइज कर रहे हैं, जो अल्केमाइज कर रहे हैं, वो कौन लोग हैं, वो कहाँ से, वो ये कॉन्सेप्ट्स कहाँ से आ रहे हैं. This is our story. We're in this classroom. This is our story. And how this particular womb, which is tautly held and tautly supported by the divine from Ghayb, activated for me was, as is true, as is the rite of passage for most of us. It's only when we are what we call deprived of the resources in our sensorial world can we actually activate the resources of our divine Ghayb world. जब तक हमारी प्यास यहाँ से पूरी हो रही है, ओके सिंपल, जब तक हमारे पानी के नलकों में से पानी निकल रहा है, हम किसी कुएं के पास क्यों जाएंगे? हालांकि we know that that कुआं exists, हालांकि we know that the मिठास of that कुआं, the पानी of that the taste of that water of that कुआं, we know it even if we acknowledge it or not. We have dreamt about it, we have written about it. If we are poets, we have taken a photograph of it, of that well, which is the well of divinity, which is the well of divine abundance, which is the well of divine support, which is the well of Ghayb, because Ghayb actually means the depth of a well. We know that well. लेकिन हमारे पानी में से हमें मालूम है कि उस वो वेल में जाना है, वो वेल कहाँ है और कैसा फील होता है. We know it. That's why we write poetry. We make beautiful movies. We take photographs. We like paint. We draw. We dance. We meditate because we know that well. But जब तक हमारे नलकों में से पानी निकलता रहेगा, हमें एक आसानी की आदत है, हमें एक एक्सेस है, हमारे लिए एक ईज है of access. हम लोग नहीं जाते हैं उस वेल की तरफ. पानी बंद होना हक है. And of course, पानी की analogy I'm giving, I've just realized that it's a deliberate analogy because पानी is the source of all life. So any time जब हमारी किसी भी हिस्से of our life का पानी बंद होता है, हमारा किसी किस्म का रिस्क में ब्लॉक आता है, किसी किस्म के भी रिस्क में, चाहे वो हमारे जिस्म का है, हमारे दिमाग का है, हमारे रिश्तों का है, हमारी नॉलेज का है, हमारी नींद का है, हमारी औलाद का है, हमारे हमारा माशी रिस्क है. इन एनी वे जब उस पे ब्लॉक आता है, that's when we begin to tune into our divine well. That is when we begin to tune into the nasr from Ghayb. That, by the way, is always activated anyway for us. Otherwise, we would not have even be breathing in this moment. The nasr from Ghayb, the divine support from Ghayb, 80% of it is what could have happened but didn't happen. 80% of the divine support is things that we have never experienced. What could have happened but didn't happen because of the fact that you are divinely, strongly supported in this system. Because of the fact that there are legions of angels in charge of taking care of you, because of the fact that as Madiha's Ruh was created, and if we are prone to coordinates as a concept, which I am in this moment, I feel, when Madiha's room was created, Madiha's soul was given 5 or 6 divine coordinates, synced to coordinates to what? To the most beneficial, the most productive oases like utopian spaces in this world, in this dunya, that have been uniquely created for Madiha. ना वो सोफिया के हैं, ना वो अमल के हैं, ना वो फातिमा के हैं, ना वो अदील के हैं, ना वो वरदा किसी के आले किसी के वो कोऑर्डिनेट्स नहीं है, वो मेरे कोऑर्डिनेट्स हैं. और वो कोऑर्डिनेट्स किन रिसोर्सेज के हैं? जो वो रिसोर्सेज ही मेरे लिए बनी गई, वो डेस्टिनेशंस ओएसिस बनाई ही मेरे लिए गई. और वो डिवाइन कोऑर्डिनेट्स अल्लाह ने मेरे अंदर प्रोग्राम किए हैं उन रिसोर्सेज के, उन एक्सपीरियंसेस के, उन डेस्टिनेशंस के, linked to my life purpose. Or, and with it created legions of angels to help me, almost like you would herd in sheep. A good farmer would herd in sheep. इधर से नहीं मुड़ो, उधर से, like in ways that I cannot see. I am made to turn away from here and turn towards that in ways I cannot see. In ways that I cannot see, Allah Ta'ala changes the actual geography of, and we know this hadith, Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, before, without going, Subhanallah al-Azim, without going into, Allah Ta'ala is prone to, because this is what Nasrullah looks like. Allah Ta'ala changes the geography, the geographies of the universe and the world when you ask for his help, when you call out to him. And we have the most powerful hadith, without going into the details, of the man who killed 99 people, and he could not stop killing, and he went to various people and everybody said, damned, cursed, until he went to one ulama. And he said, ulama said, hello, you ask for Allah's help. This is what's happening. This is what the wisdom, the hikmah looks like. The place that you've been living in for a long time does not look like a happy, healthy space for you, because you just like end up killing a lot in this space. Why don't you move from this space? If you can't stop killing, hijrat farmaya. He said, I love this idea. He packs up his bags, decides to shift, decides to do hijrat, exits his town, dies. Killed, dies, doesn't matter. Dies. Angels, there's an angel of death comes from hell, one another comes from heaven, and the hell one says, he's mine. And the angel of heaven says he's mine. And angel of death says to him, like from the hell says, how on earth could you raise this claim? Take it to Allah Ta'ala. Goes to Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala says, what's going on? And of course, he knows what's going on. But the angels lay down their case and they say, this guy had, he was on the path to Tawbah. He was a Tawab. But he'd killed 99 people and he hadn't reached the destination that he had set out for that town. But he had not taken a single step of reformation, except for the fact that he took a physical, literal step to move from the place that was harming him. Not reformed by any stretch of imagination, just a single step out. And Allah Ta'ala says, okay, why don't you go and measure the distance? If the distance between the place that he was from and the place he was heading to, if that distance is longer, then he's forgiven. But if he's closer to his hometown, then he's not forgiven and he needs to go to hellfire. And as the angel set out to measure, and Allah Ta'ala knew that the distance from his hometown was really short, he was really close to his hometown. He had not walked that particular longer path. Allah Ta'ala went ahead and changed the dimensions of his own universe, such that the angels found the distance from his hometown to be longer, and therefore he was taken to heaven. He was claimed as that of residents of heaven. Nasrullah al-Ghaib looks like, in a random battlefield, 300 angels, 1,000, I don't even know how many angels are showing up. And then people who do not believe in Nasrullah, they say, which is the Ghazwa Badr, right? Who do not believe. It's like, आपको 300 या 3000 angels की क्या जरूरत है यार? आपके लिए एक काफी होना चाहिए अगर angel ही की force आ रही है. And Allah Ta'ala is like, the angels were not sent to fight on your behalf with the disbelievers. The angels were sent so that you know where you come from. You know this is what your divine support is. तुम लोगों को किस चीज का डर है? क्योंकि उन angels की तो एक इरादे पे and that's a verified hadith, उनके एक इरादे पे disbelievers की गर्दन खुद ब खुद dislocate होकर नीचे गिर जाती थी. They were not there to fight. They were there to remind the believers, subhanallah. And in the same ayah of Ghazwa Badr, Allah Ta'ala says, for matmainul qulub, tatmainul qulub, for ताकि आपका जो कल्ब है वो मुतमईन हो, वो at rest हो, वो आपको डर न लगे. इसलिए हमने angels भेजे. For tatmainul qulub. So you are reminded as beautiful reminders कि आप हैं कहाँ पे, आप किस तरह divinely supported है. And that is the support accessible to every multidimensional soul, and especially accessible to multidimensional Islamic soul, but all multidimensional souls. They cannot exist. A person cannot, in this crazy world, or any crazy world, when you were hunters in the caves, what were the odds? Scientifically, mathematically, what are the odds of us actually surviving a day with the multiple odds at play at all times? Multiple million odds at play at all times. What are the odds? And here we are, planning our lives and like setting out, building our vacation plans and buying our Eid jodas with such certainty. Because we feel the divine protection. We know that well is there. It's the same well that Yunus believed in, that Ibrahim believed in, that Yusuf believed in, that Hazrat Nuh believed in, yeah. It's the same well that they felt instinctively. It's not something that was that had to be shown to them. He did not come for a long time to each of them. They just knew how divinely supported they are. And when they did call out for his help, unexpected things happened. Like the way that Hazrat Yusuf had to stay away and in distress, so to speak, for the first 40 years, 45 years of his life. It was a long time before he could be reunited. It was a long time before he could experience ease. So if you look at the events which unfolded for him, it did not feel like divine support, did it? And yet, look, each step takes him closer and closer and closer and closer. And his only job in each time a moment presents itself to him, his only job is to say, "Na, I believe, La ilaha illallah, I know who my Rabb is. I know who my Rabb is. And I'll say yes, I surrender. His only job until he reaches the point where he receives the abundance, his divine birthright. And so, no, when we ask for divine help, it does not look pretty. Mostly, it does not look pretty. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the most beloved, asked for Allah's help, he wanted more than anything, he wanted his tribe, his people to follow him, to believe in him. When he asked for Allah Ta'ala's help, Allah said, Hijr, aap chhod hi jaye. Forget your people believing in your hometown, leave your hometown. What? Subhanallah, he was asked to do hijrat, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When he asked for Allah's help, so he was asked, unki dua kya thi? Ki ya Allah, make them believe. They're my people, I love them. I've lived within them. I have मेरा उनके साथ क्या उसका है, रिश्ता है उनके साथ. And Allah Ta'ala said, अच्छा, बहुत अच्छी बात है, very nice, leave. Does this look like Nasra? Subhanallah, he received his own city. Subhanallah, and then was brought back to his hometown. Subhanallah, as a king that he is. Subhanallah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then the support that he received. This is what divine help looks like. Because when it comes into play, when it's activated, it is activated from the Ghaib. And the mind tries to grapples with trying to understand ki, how do I make sense of, I asked for this and now this completely other random thing is happening. How do I even begin to make sense of this? Well, Alif Lam Mim. This, by the way, is a beautiful reminder that in times when I'm like struggling and trying to understand what on earth is even happening, I have a magic word, which is Alif Lam Mim. Beta, you know nothing. And you're not asked to know anything. Not only, so you know nothing is not a challenge to self. You know nothing is also Alif Lam Mim. You're not asked to know anything because you cannot know anything, because there's one who does know everything. And all you asked to do is know that there is a one who knows everything that he needs to know about you and he's going to take care of you. And so now what do you want to know? Nay, alhamdulillah, ji, Alif Lam Mim. Not alhamdulillah. Beautiful daily reminder for ourselves. Subhanallah. Beautiful, no matter which point of our journey that we're on. No matter what, just say to your Alif Lam Mim, I don't, क्या होगा आउटकम इस रिश्ते का, उस जॉब का, उस इन्वेस्टमेंट का, मेरी हेल्थ का, उस ऑपरेशन का, उस ट्रैवल का, मेरी माइग्रेशन इमिग्रेशन का. Alif Lam Mim, I don't. जिसका है वो संभाल. Like really give up at all times, so that in the moment that we surrender, and this is what we want to, this is what I want to visualize, want us to visualize, the moment that we surrender as a human being, the moment we've gone limp like a rag doll, the moment we have surrendered to anything in our life, we are magnetized to that well. I swear to God, subhanallah, we're magnetized to that well of Ghayb, jahan pe Nasrullah hai of Ghayb. Ghayb ki nasr jo hai, uski depth unlimited, उसकी resources unlimited, उनके खजानों की तो कोई हद ही नहीं. Allah, the way Allah Ta'ala speaks of His khazane and all kinds of khazane, which includes the khazane of awlad and ilm and all the flight and all the desires that we have and all kinds of khazana. Allah Ta'ala ने कहा ये दुनिया मेरे जो खजानों के जो पूरे गार भरे हुए हैं, जो पूरे कायनातें खजानों के हैं, उसमें एक जर्रा है ये दुनिया. What? You are magnetized instinctively to that well. उसकी तो कोई हद ही नहीं है. एंड द मोर यू गो लिम्प, बिल्कुल ही बेचारे बन रहे हो अल्लाह के सामने. दुनिया के सामने तो आपने कुछ हाथ नहीं उठाना, खड़ा ही नहीं करना हाथ, और दुनिया के सामने सबसे बड़े बेचारे, अल्लाह के सामने सबसे बड़े बेचारे आप. वहां पे तो लिम्प होके बैठ जाओ, मुझे तो जी कुछ पता ही नहीं है, अब संभाल लेंगे. एंड देन द मैजिकल थिंग दैट बिगिंस टू हैपन. And I want us to now, this is Fatima, the visualization that we have done. I want us to visualize. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to visualize that light that we were tuned into in the black space, that light is beginning to begin to develop a form. It's beginning to develop the form of a tree trunk. And right now, in this moment, the tree trunk is growing downwards first. Although the form is a tree trunk first, but it's going downwards first, and it's becoming longer and going deeper and deeper and deeper into the space. And now the surface of the space becomes transparent enough for us to see how the roots of it are going deeper and deeper and spreading even more deeply and deeply beneath the roots. It goes deeper. And now if we want to travel, if we want to take our awareness, we can dive as if we are diving down a slide. We can dive through the trunk of the tree and we go sliding down the trunk of the tree. And now we can go through the roots of us. We can travel through the roots of us. And notice how there's no end. We can keep traveling. This is one slide that will, I promise you, will never end. We can keep traveling down the roots of us, the slide of the roots of us. We can keep traveling down and notice how abundantly ripe the universes are that you're traveling through, because this is no ordinary earth. Notice the smell of the earth around your roots. Notice the strength of the earth, not just the smell, the strength of the earth. Notice how infinitely abundant this mitti is in which your roots are growing. Notice how even now, even as you're traveling down the roots, there's another line of nutrition that is going right from beside you up to your tree trunk, as if आप नीचे जा रहे हो और एक और जो ट्यूब सी है वो ऊपर जा रही है, और वो ट्यूब के अंदर milk and honey or clear jelly liquid, whatever, or like it can be jello if you want to have different colors. Look at that multicolored nutritional liquids which are feeding you up directly from the depths of this bottomless depth up to the trunk of you. Notice the beautiful universe of colors that your roots are growing in. Notice how those universe of colors is fed with the ladybirds and the earthworms and the snails. Notice how they are the beautiful compost, oh my, subhanallah, designed till the beginning, since the beginning of time, to keep the soil of your roots ripe, for the depths are infinite. And notice how this liquid that's going up from your roots to the tree trunk has been going up since the beginning of time. It is the one feeding your soul. And now you rise back up, make a U-turn from going down, because you will never reach the end of it. We make a U-turn and we follow the lead of this colorful liquid that's going up, feeding our trunk. And so we're going to just fly alongside it. So there's, on the left side is this colorful liquid that's going up, and on the right side we're going to travel up through the same multiple universes. But now we have more of a traveler's point of view, because हम लोग इधर उधर देख सकते हैं, to see the universes of like colors and however those universes look like for you, whether those look like layered cupcakes or like layers of clouds with different colored clouds and soft candy stuff, but then always filled, always these beautiful magical creatures, tilling them, working on that and keeping them flowing and ripe, never stagnant, always being worked on the fly, up towards the trunk of us. And the trunk of us now come up to the trunk of you. And now as you inhale and you exhale out the branches of you, you inhale through the inhale yourself out of the trunk and exhale out the branches of you. Notice how this these branches which spread out from your trunk as you inhale and you exhale. These are branches which are coming out till the end of the universe. Notice how these branches, each branch now go to the nodule of each of those branches. Note how the same divine liquid that you witnessed in your roots is flowing to the very tips of it, to the very tips of it. There's not a single space within the branches of you that is not filled, and you are not moving. And now in this moment, I am a multidimensional divine being of light, and I call upon my divine resources ordained for me by my creator to my branches, to my branches, and to my branches. And notice how those divine resources, which are already ordained for you, are going to come in towards you in the form of butterflies or birds or like dragons and unicorns if you want. But you do not move from where you are. You do not move from where you are. You just feel the well of you. You just feel the divinity of you. And you call out exactly where you are to your resource, and they come magnetized towards you. Because remember, the divine coordinates that was set within you was set with that unicorn, with that bluebird, with that butterfly, with that willow. I don't know what that is, a minnow, whatever. Those birds coming in, they're already set for you. These divine resources of risk, halal risk, of your khubsurat olad, of your neek olad, of your sukoon, of your knowledge, of your words, of your kindness, of support, of community, of connection, of beautiful relationships which bring ease, जो आंखों के दिल की ठंडक का बायस बने. ये वो रिश्ते, ये वो दोस्त, ये वो पार्टनर्स, ये वो घर जो आपकी छाँव हो, जहां से आपको, जो आपको धूप से बचा के रखे. ये वो रिस्क है जो आपके लिए लिखा हुआ है. And all you have done in this moment, और ये लिखा हुआ है आपके लिए, you don't have to struggle for it. It's your divine right. All you have done in this moment is surrender to the divine flow of you, surrender to the divine abundance of you, surrender to the divine khazana that has been divine support that's been promised to you, because he has not abandoned you. He has not abandoned you. And he's not created an insan, he's created a ruh. He's allocated resources of the ruh for you. And these resources of the ruh inevitably turn into, जब आपके अंदर का दरख्त के ऊपर ये चरिंद परिंद आएंगे, तो आपके बाहर के दुनिया के दरख्त के ऊपर भी चरिंद परिंद आएंगे. So our divine support is never external. We always go back to the depth of ourselves. We always go back to our inner resources. In the moments that you're feeling lack of any kind, tune into the depth of your own kuan. उस कुएं में जाके बैठ जाओ, उस कुएं के साथ जाके बैठ जाओ, फिर उस कुएं में से दरख्त बन के उगना शुरू कर दो, and say कि मुझे यहाँ लाके दे अल्लाह ताला जी. And that यहाँ लाके दे would be inspiration also to make a call or to go somewhere or to meet somebody or to say this or to do that. And that turns into this, and that turns into that, and that turns into physical resources in this dunya. But always ever starts from the kuah. Always. Where you are tautly held and tightly supported. For you are his creation. He is your khalik. And he's holding on to you so tightly, never for a second taking his eyes away from you, never for a second letting go, even loosening the grip on your hand, never for a second. Alhamdulillah.